Alright, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, Matty here with another episode of Steelers Touchdown. We've got more to come as well across the weekend, but we are reacting to the Steelers signing this first set of undrafted free agents, their UDFAs. Usually happens a couple hours after the draft. We've literally hit that time zone. I was able to get a couple hours sleep between the 7th round and then bringing these guys in. It's literally just been released, so I'm recording this within 4.5 minutes. Big things with this one as well. We'll show the names for you on the board in a moment, but definitely some big names here. And why they're big names? Well, we're going to tell you that on this episode of Steelers Touchdown Under. All right, the first one you can see in front of you is Sebastian Castro, a defensive back out of Iowa. Now, this is a bigger back, 220 pound plus he should weigh in at from when I last saw. I actually said him on a live show I was participating in on the chat with on Steelers Dynasty. Go check them out. Hit the like, hit the subscribe if you go to them. But big back out of Iowa made sense when you think about the amount of Iowa football the Steelers have been watching, considering their drafting of Kaleb Johnson on the running back side and Yayha Black on the defensive tackle side. They also brought in a tight end. I thought they would do that. They actually brought in 2 tight ends. So one out of South Dakota. He's a bigger guy, I think. And then the more receiving guy in Thomas Jones Jr. I hope I got that right. Ben Sauls is the kicker out of Pittsburgh. So very familiar to people that are Pittsburgh Steelers fans that are also Pittsburgh Panthers fans as well. They brought in Rock Taylor, wide receiver from Memphis. Now, remember that we've brought in guys like him before when we've got Calvin Austin. He's a quicker bloke. They brought in Keyshawn Williams, a receiver out of Indiana as well. Looking at Castro, as I said, was defensive back. He's a strong safety, 53 games for the Hawkeyes. I think that's across 5 years. 163 tackles, 113 solo tackles. This is a tackling machine. We need that. He had 14 for a loss, 18 pass defenses, 5 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, 2 sacks. So definitely more of that big defensive bloke. You look at the receiving guys from a tight end perspective. Galbraith had, this is pretty cool. He had 40 games for South Dakota, 93 receptions, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. He appeared in 10 games with 32 receptions for 469 and 4 touchdowns. That's good production from a tight end. We wouldn't expect him to have to do that at the Steelers, but even if he did, that'd be great. I know it's obviously NFL, not college, but the fact that he's actually got that nice body of work the year before he comes in is pretty cool. If he was an All-American and he was an All-Team Conference and he was a third-team Phil Steele All-American, it's a pretty solid guy to get undrafted. Obviously, as I said, the kicker, he had 81.25% kicking completion percentage, which is pretty cool, and a long of 58 yards. The big thing about bringing him in, if you can keep him on a practice squad, is he has kicked in Pittsburgh. That's the thing that's cool about this. It's not that he's a kicker from the Pittsburgh Panthers. I mean, that's going to be cool for those Steel fans out there that are Pittsburgh Panther fans. But it's the fact that he has kicked in Pittsburgh, in the wind, in that stadium. He was a Pro Football Focus All-America team and second All-American team by SportsIllustrated.com. So that's pretty huge for him. So really a lot like this. These are some smart. This goes with the theme of the draft. This is some really smart picks that the Steelers have, or in this case UDFAs, that the Steelers have brought in. The other tight end they brought in had 610 yards and 11 touchdowns throughout the course of his career. So as I said, they've brought in one that's receiving and one more sort of all-rounder. Offensive line, they brought in Aiden Williams, 40 games over 4 years for Minnesota Duluth, 11 games in the last 3 years. I'd expect them to probably dip back into the well of the offensive lineman. Same with receiver, they brought in this guy Keyshawn Williams, 59 games during his college career, and he started 11 of them. 2,640 all-purpose yards with 1,800 receiving. He was at Indiana in 2024, so probably a bit better competition there, where he had 39 receptions, 448 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Before that, he was at Wake Forest. So Wake Forest had a lot of turnover after the 2023 college season. Some guys declared, other guys moved on to different colleges. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm not surprised that he made the move, looking to get drafted. But what do I make of all of this? As I said, there's going to be more free UDFAs that they bring in. I think they're going to do more on the offensive line. You may even see a Dino Tomlin come in. Let's see what happens there. I'm surprised with some of the receivers. I think Nick Nash is still available. I really was big on him at the later rounds of the draft, getting him. Maybe there's some maybe there's some off-field stuff that people are worried about. But if you can grab him through this process, that would be great as well. I do think they need a couple legit wide receiver options to contest the 5th or 6th of spots, depending on how many they're going to keep on the roster. But I definitely think tight end, I was surprised they didn't go dip back in and invest there in the draft. So I'm interested to see how these tight end blokes fit in, and other tight ends that become available too. That's the key thing to note with UDFA. Some guys get picked up by a team first, then they'd had another offer from someone else. They go in, it's not the right fit, they don't like it, they get an early cut, and then someone else will pick them up. So we're gonna see a lot of flux with these. But anyway, the breaking news is the Steelers have signed their first crop of UDFAs. The big name here to watch, the one that I think is most likely to make the roster, I think Sauls could make it on the practice squad as a backup kicker for Boz. But I do think Castro is a legit chance. And especially the fact that he missed out in the 6th and the 7th. He could have well been taken there. But with that, you let me know in the comments. Is there someone in this list that you really like? Is there someone you hate? Does it even matter to you? I don't mind. Just let me know in the comments. As always, go Steelers.